Electrical and electronic manufacturing in the Philippines has been amongst the largest contributors to the economy. Its position as the single largest export product has paved the way for millions of jobs and billions of dollars worth of profits. In 2021, the country exported a record total of about $45.9 billion worth of goods from the semiconductors and electronic industry, making the electronic industry a large economic driver. This was driven by the immense demand for products such as telecommunications, medical instruments, electronic data processing, and other office and device components. What led to the rise of the Philippines to become a giant and competitive electronic industry, however, is hugely thanks to the strong foreign direct investments the current has received. Numerous US-based firms to South Korean and Japanese firms have found immense success, especially in the country's economic zones, which have been attributed to luring these manufacturing companies. While it is indeed staging record high numbers, the industry is often perceived as a failed industry due to the fact that numerous international firms have left the Philippines over the decades of its operation. The case of Intel, which left in 2009, had impacted the overall exports of electronics and caused massive backlash to the inability of the government to innovate and keep international firms within national borders. Furthermore, most of the electrical and electronic works that have occurred in the Philippines are not even high-tech products. Rather, it is largely directed towards assembly and testing, meaning that multinational firms that are operating within the national borders are not there for research and development, neither is it for improving and innovating, but for assembling parts and testing them. A low-value initiative, as some have suggested. Finally, the rise of manufacturing around Southeast Asia has even made the Philippines' growth look slow. Vietnam's electronic exports amounted to over $50.8 billion. Malaysia, on the other hand, triumphs over that of the Philippines, which is double that of Vietnam and the Philippines, reporting in at $101 billion, and the many more of the big five economies of Southeast Asia plays a larger role in comparison to the Philippines. To understand the future of the electronic industry and whether the Philippines will actually play a larger role, we must first take a look at the very beginning and the growth of the overall industry. The electronic industry of the Philippines hails way back in the 1970s, the decade when world competitiveness was starting to pick up. Numerous Japanese and US-based companies have sought to offshore their businesses around developing countries in order to help keep costs down. As the Philippines emerged to be amongst the places where cheap labor was found and was a key strategic economic partner of the US, they found the archipelago nation as a good place to invest in. Much of the leads came from US and European firms who invested initially in the decade. This paved the way for around 5,000 people to be employed around the country by the mid-70s. With the strong demand for electronics going around the globe, local firms also took up the opportunity. Big investments from conglomerates paved the way for the industry to experience further growth. This positioned local companies to lure in foreign investments as they are designated as outsourcing companies, which have then invited foreign firms to invest in their factories and let them take care of the work. By 1980, the industry would now employ 47,000 people, which is a huge increase in just less than a decade. The important rise of the electronic industry of the Philippines led to massive waves of investments globally. Japan entered from 1990 to 1999, which saw Fujitsu, Toshiba, Epson, Kyocera, and so on to outsource many works. The start of the 21st century then saw South Korea take the next steps and lead waves of investments. These investments more than happened due to the proper implementation of local economic zones, but also due to the strong human capital that the Philippines and foreign firms grew out of in the 1970s. However, from 2008 to 2010, the fall of US banking giants caused a ripple effect on the backdrop of the world economy. The recession caused electronic demand to fall, which led Intel, one of the largest and most well-known investments in the Philippines, to exit. Intel was a phenomenon. Not only was it hailed as the US's largest semiconductor company, but it also was a key component to the rise of Silicon Valley as a high-tech center. Such a crucial company leaving the country would more than likely cause disaster to society. But Intel's exit, while an exemption, most of the foreign investments that happened from the 1970s to 1990s had actually stayed. Some of them had even decided to upgrade their facilities within the country. From 2010 to 2015, it was even reported that the country attracted over 110 new investments within the sector. The years headed then saw many more South Korean firms invest in the Philippines, but also saw Chinese firms finally enter the electronic industry of the Philippines. While they are still seen as minimal compared to other countries, it seems that they are already slowly taking place and leading the next wave of investments to the Philippines. The most probable case is the development of lithium-ion batteries, where the Philippines has one of the largest deposits of nickel and cobalt, which may help implement a move from low-value manufacturing to high-value products. The Chinese economy, however, has seen numerous issues lately. This led multinational firms to relocate within Southeast Asia, which helped push billions of dollars to the Philippines during the last 3 years, which may suggest that their fall and rise have improved the local economy. Further investments are even being poured as evident of today, which led the way for the industry to continuously post record-high numbers on its exports. The importance of the electronic industry is not even limited to its outputs of monetary means, but also as it helps improve human capital. This is one of the key aspects in driving the Philippines to go from a designation for assembly and testing to becoming a manufacturer of electronic components or high-value products. As these multinational and local companies continuously provide better and more employment options, over time, the youth would eventually take up the necessary skills and knowledge to make the Philippines an attractive destination for high-tech and high-value manufacturing. Furthermore, according to the Semiconductor and Electronics Industries of the Philippines, they project that over 500,000 graduates are now occurring each year. This may suggest that a huge potential for the Philippines is slowly happening, whereas the graduating population is now seeking to take a bite off this enormous and growing pie. Getting where the country wants to be, however, is not always going to be easy. The country has to account for the vast competitiveness that Southeast Asia offers. After all, it is home to developing nations hoping to become the fastest-growing economies in the entire world. They are doing this by reinventing their entire societies, by providing a world-class education to state-of-the-art infrastructures, and even leveraging debt to create monumental short-term growth. These all suggest that most of Southeast Asia are vying for this big opportunity, implementing the right policies and strategies to support their own home electronics industry. The Philippines, however, still needs its government to implement the right policies and incentives to support local growth. The Board of Investments has projected the industry will contribute a whopping $112 billion by 2030, more than double what its current export is today. It is even further expected to contribute 24 million workers to the entire country. But this projection lies on whether the government supports the industry through various investments and incentives. This means that the country needs to account for its own infrastructure developments, improved educational system, and other factors that are influenced by the rising tide of the electronic industry. From the looks of it, however, it may happen, but it's going to be quite difficult. Not only is it filled with competitiveness, but the government of the Philippines also has to account for its other big industry. The service industry of the Philippines, the largest of the three, more than its manufacturing and agriculture, poses a more crucial place for investments. The Philippines houses more potential when it comes to its business services and knowledge processing, which have become the country's next battleground for growth. With the country's competitive human capital in the field, the government will more than likely implement better investments for technology-leaning graduates rather than focusing on its engineering. Furthermore, the country's strong back-end testing and assembly may be a big challenge. Transition or focusing on high-value capabilities where improving the manufacturing capacity for semiconductor wafer fabrication would be very difficult. Their reliance on low value has probably become synonymous with many foreign firms investing in the country, and may only see the country as a destination for low-value works in the value chain. The necessary technological and product innovation is even further limited across small and medium enterprises. Moreover, rising labor costs are now also posing challenges for the country, as other developing nations are not just equipped with the right human capital as the Philippines, but also have a lower salary base. Obviously, these are just some of the many more challenges the industry has. With many barriers, it is more than likely that the government would incentivize other industries where growth is more probable and risks are less. That, however, is only our opinion, as there is still a huge opportunity that the Philippines could take. Anyway, what do you think?